Chapter 71. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Although Su Zhan has never been to the headquarters of the Green Lantern Corps, or in other words, the Green Lantern Corps has not recognized his identity, it doesn't matter, no one else knows this anyway. Inspection. What is the investigation? That's a lot of information for Oliver Queen. He had just prepared to save Star City and save a city, but the Su Zhan in front of him had already expanded its scope to the entire Earth and even the universe. Didn't I just say that other cities also have their own superheroes guarding them, but the horizon is still too small. It should not be limited to the city, but should be wider. When there are some powerful enemies, you alone cannot when fighting against each other, only when everyone gathers together can we hope to defeat the enemy, and this everyone is the candidate for my inspection. Chapter 0089 Improvement of Friendliness. Oliver Queen was still a little confused. He didn't understand why Su Zhan told him this, and he didn't understand why he was chosen. Yes, he does have some abilities, which are stronger than ordinary people, even better than many people, but after all, he is just an ordinary person. He has no superpowers, let alone the ability to protect the entire Earth or even the universe. Looking at Oliver Queen, who was still confused, Su Zhan said with a smile, "Actually, I still know a little about you. Some of your actions and things are actually not strictly speaking in line with the standards of a hero. At least most people will, I think so. Heroes fight criminals and bring them to justice without killing them. But the consequence of doing so is that they commit crimes again and again and cause trouble again and again. So, I need you like this, Dark Hero. Methods and means are not important, what is important is, you have a righteous heart. I'm very grateful for your consideration and understanding, but I'm not a hero. I just want to do something for this city." Oliver Queen shook his head and said in a deep voice, "So, although I don't know what is the purpose of the inspection, but I'm afraid I'm not the right candidate." He didn't care about Oliver Queen's polite rejection of Su Zhan, and he didn't plan to form the Justice League now. It could only be regarded as a concept. It was enough to let Oliver Queen know that he had this intention and idea. What's more, just now, he received a system prompt. Arrow, Oliver Queen, 5% friendly, that this 5% friendship level should be increased because of my appreciation for him, right? Although it is a little short, it is a good start after all. Su Zhan smiled and said to Oliver Queen, "You will know later whether it is suitable for you, but now. I think you won't refuse my help, right? For example, I will help you get a secret base so that you can do things more conveniently. After all, a person's power is limited, isn't it?" Oliver Queen was really moved. After all, he couldn't reveal his identity or ask for help. It would be best if Su Zhan could help. But he was really embarrassed to ask Su Zhan to help for no reason. His heart was inclined to what Su Zhan said, but he was not so easy to believe in other people's characters. He has changed a lot in the past 5 years, one of which is lack of trust. That's it. I know there is a place that is very suitable. Time is tight. Let's go there now. Seeing Oliver Queen's hesitation, Su Zhan didn't give him time to think about it. Only by helping him can you increase your friendship and complete the mission. What's more, there are some things that Oliver Queen would do even without him, so why waste the opportunity to increase friendship? Su Zhan simply didn't give Oliver Queen a chance to refuse. The energy shield enveloped Oliver Queen and Phyllis respectively, and then Su Zhan floated out of the window. Suddenly rising into the air, Oliver Queen was a little panicked but did not lose his calm. He curiously studied the energy shield, trying to figure out what it was. Not long after, the three of them slowly fell down. "This is my father's original factory." After landing, Oliver Queen looked around and said with some surprise. Su Zhan nodded and walked in while talking. "Yes, this factory is abandoned. Basically no one will come here." After entering, Su Zhan stamped his feet and said, "It should be empty down here, right? As long as this place is opened up, there will be an excellent secret base below. As for the top, you can decorate it into a nightclub, like your Oliver Queen's name. I believe the business will be very good." No one would have thought that this would be the Green Arrow's base, and it would also be an excellent cover for your frequent presence here. Oliver Queen couldn't help but nodded repeatedly. It's indeed perfect. You can do things in the nightclub openly and honestly. As for now, we can take care of things down there first. Okay, I'll prepare things. Oliver said, after all, if you want to break through the ground, you can't do it without hammers and other tools. That's not necessary. Su Zhan stopped Oliver Queen with a smile, and a huge hammer appeared above his head. Boom! The giant hammer fell, and the ground shook instantly, causing cracks to appear. Su Zhan frowned slightly, as if he was a little dissatisfied with the effect of the hammer. As soon as he thought about it, the giant hammer turned into a pile driver and began to smash. Within 5 minutes, the ground suddenly collapsed. Su Zhan walked over, took a look, and nodded with satisfaction. The ground was originally hollow, so Oliver Queen jumped down first, followed by Su Zhan holding Phyllis in his arms, and slowly fell down. It's a little dark inside and a lot of dust. Looks like it needs a good cleaning. Su Zhan waved his hand, and a ball of energy enveloped Felice, and then transformed into a huge vacuum cleaner and started sucking her up. Your ability is really special. Oliver Queen looked at Su Zhan dumbfounded and murmured. It's okay. Although the things I conjure are also effective, they rely on energy after all. As long as I tear off the energy, it will disappear. I'm still working hard now. If I succeed, maybe the things I conjure in the future will be really exists. Ether particles are reality gems. If you completely swallow the ether particles, you can have the ability to modify the display, and the things you change can become reality, just like the magic pen Ma Liang. Whatever he draws, he can have. Can't you create an extra energy shield? Oliver Queen complained to Su Zhan, covering his nose. He now understood why Su Zhan suddenly covered Phyllis with an energy shield. What a big gray. Actually, you really don't need to do anything here now. It's still in the way if you stay here. You can go back and get your equipment and things you will use in the future. To be honest, I really want to see your archery skills. Getting in the way. This is my base. Oliver Queen said something depressed, but turned around and left. 2 hours later, Oliver Queen was back. When he returned here again, he was shocked to find that he had a completely new look. The space had been completely cleaned out, and the dust had disappeared. It was so clean that he could not even recognize it. I'm finally back. Come on, let me see how your archery skills are. Just now, Phyllis asked me what your abilities are. I said your archery skills are very good. Don't let me do that. It's embarrassing in front of my girlfriend. Su Zhan couldn't wait to say to Oliver Queen. Phyllis next to him was a little embarrassed, but her eyes were full of expectation. Chapter 0090 The White-Haired Witch of the Triad. Oliver Queen was a little uncomfortable being stared at by Su Zhan and Phyllis. His arrows had always been used to kill people, but now it felt like an acrobatic performance. Depressed as he was, Oliver Queen opened the box, took out his bow and arrows, and started playing with them. Needless to say, Oliver Queen's temperament instantly became a little different with a bow and arrow in hand, and his eyes were very sharp. Su Zhan suddenly used energy to create a tennis ball and threw it towards Oliver Queen. Oliver Queen reacted very quickly, turned around, pulled the bow, and with a whoosh, the bow and arrow had pierced the tennis ball and nailed it to the wall. Su Zhan didn't say anything, and at the same time he conjured 3 tennis balls and flew them at different angles and speeds. Whoosh whoosh. 3 tennis balls were pinned to the wall again. That's amazing. Phyllis clapped her hands and said in amazement. Su Zhan withdrew his energy, clapped his hands and said, "You are really good at archery. I know a guy who is also good at archery. I just don't know which one of you is better. What's his name?" Oliver Queen was absolutely confident in his archery skills, so he asked curiously. "His name is Hawkeye. If there is a chance in the future, I can let you compete." Su Zhan hasn't had the chance to meet Hawkeye yet, but as a representative of archery in the Marvel world, his abilities are almost the same as those of Green Arrow. They all used bows and arrows, multifunctional arrows. Therefore, Su Zhan was really curious about who was stronger, Green Arrow or Hawkeye. Chapter 72. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Hawkeye. I've never heard of this name. If I have the chance, I wouldn't mind competing with him, said Oliver Queen. How's it going? Do you believe what I said now? Su Zhan turned to ask Felice with a smile. Phyllis nodded repeatedly. In her understanding, the so-called superheroes all have special superpowers like Su Zhan, but Oliver Queen is just an ordinary person. How powerful can he be, no matter how powerful he is? Now seeing Oliver's archery skills, she had to marvel, it was so fast and so accurate. Okay, my mission is over. I believe you must have a lot of personal matters to deal with, so I won't disturb you. This is my phone number. I will be in Star City during this week. If you need help, you can call me at any time. Su Zhan used energy to float his number in the air, and waited until Oliver Queen remembered it before hugging Phyllis and leaving. Not long after leaving, Su Zhan received another reminder, the friendliness level increased by 5% again. Finally, my time as a cleaner was not in vain. Su Zhan knew very well that Oliver Queen would not ask him for help, at least not in the short term. After all, the opponents he encountered now were not very strong. However, in order to complete the task, Su Zhan is ready to forcibly increase the friendship level. Oliver Queen came out of the court, legally restored to the fact of his resurrection, that is, restored to his citizenship. When he came out, he happened to meet Laurel, who was about to sue and deal with the triads. Oliver Queen seems to have this name on his list as he remembers from the undercover gangster summers. Back at the secret base, Oliver Queen investigated this summers. He was very powerful and had a good background. The Star City Police and the district attorney should be unable to do anything about him, or in other words, they didn't want to stop him. Oliver Queen knows Laurel, and he knows what Laurel thinks. She thinks she is the only one willing to come forward and bring Summers to justice. He is wrong. Oliver Queen, or rather Green Arrow, taking action, in a warehouse, Green Arrow found Summers, easily eliminated his men, and threatened Summers to surrender himself and bear the consequences of his crimes. Oliver Queen believed that this was enough for Summers to surrender, since his life was threatened, but in fact, he was a little naive. There are many people in this world who would not shed tears without seeing the coffin. After Summers responded to the police inquiry, he called in a man. Triad Killers, Su Zhan, who was familiar with the plot, was nearby when Oliver Queen started taking action, and he had been keeping an eye on Summers, so when he was asked to invite the Triad Killers, Su Zhan was also there because he very curious about this killer. Mtlnovel, a Triad leader, she wears a red dress, has straight white hair shawl, and her identity is rather mysterious. She only knows that she has a code name called by CI, this nickname really fits her. When she first appeared, Su Zhan thought she was a white-haired witch. Summers provides a port for the Triad to transport drugs and is considered a partner, so the purpose of inviting her here is to deal with Green Arrow. However, Mtlnovel obviously had other ideas. She believed that Laurel was the main target, and as long as she killed Laurel, the problem would naturally be solved. Su Zhan didn't show up and didn't take action. Wouldn't taking action at this time miss the opportunity to increase friendship? Therefore, he just followed Mtlnovel quietly to make sure he knew when she would take action. Mtlnovel's location is very hidden, it should be one of the secret locations of the Triads. Su Zhan found a secret place upstairs opposite her room and sat down, monitoring her every move. In the room, Mtlnovel stood near the window and slowly took off her red dress. Su Zhan's eyes lit up slightly when he saw her beautiful and perfect figure. Unlike Phyllis's purely Western appearance, Mtlnovel obviously he is of Chinese descent and is of mixed race. He feels similar to Sky, even more Oriental in appearance than Sky, but his temperament is completely different. He is cold, handsome and arrogant, especially the white hair, which has a different kind of charm. Men all like novelty and excitement, and Su Zhan is no exception. After Mtlnovel took off her skirt, she turned around and disappeared from sight. Not long after, she reappeared, but she had changed into a tight black leather jacket. Although this dress doesn't have the same flavor as the previous dress, it outlines the figure well, especially the legs, seems to be a little thinner than Phyllis. Looking at the clothes Mtlnovel put on, it was obvious that she was more suitable for taking action. It seemed that she was ready to take action. As expected, Mtlnovel packed up her clothes and left. Not long after, she saw Mtlnovel coming out of the downstairs with two people and getting into a van. Is this about to take action? Favorability, here I come. Su-Jean smiled and followed him, floating in the dim night sky. Not long after, the car stopped and the three men got out of the car, put on their weapons and entered a building. Su-Jean could clearly see from above that in one of the windows of this building, Laurel was sitting on the sofa chatting with Oliver Queen. Chapter 009 The skyrocketing friendliness. Laurel and Oliver Queen seemed to be chatting happily, and Su-Jean was impressed by the sight. Sister, is that your ex-boyfriend? Is that the person who hooked up with your sister and killed your sister? Why did you forgive so easily? However, Su-Jean didn't bother to intervene in other people's affairs. He didn't have any thoughts about Laurel anyway. Silently watching the situation inside, the ether battle suit was already put on and he was ready to go. Did you hear that? Oliver Queen, who was joking, suddenly asked Laurel in a low voice. Laurel shook her head in confusion. Oliver Queen stood up slowly and vigilantly, picked up the fruit knife next to him, and slowly walked towards the door. Laurel followed him subconsciously. As soon as the two of them reached the door, just heard a bang, the door was suddenly opened with great force, and a man broke in directly. Oliver Queen pulled Laurel and ran away. The sound of gunshots rang out behind him instantly, and bullets were hitting the surroundings, asking Oliver Queen to follow. Laurel panicked and fled. Just as he bent over and ran into the bedroom, a man broke the window and entered. Unfortunately, Oliver Queen and Laurel could only turn around and find another hiding place, but as soon as he turned around and ran a few steps, he saw a woman with white hair and black leather clothing blocking the way with two short blades. Oliver Queen frowned and felt worried. At this time, the man who had rushed in from the door had already rushed over, and his gun was pointed directly at Oliver Queen. No place to hide. Oliver Queen subconsciously blocked Laurel behind him, helpless. Boom! Suddenly, gunfire rang out. It was not Oliver Queen who fell, but the man with the gun. Watching him slowly fall to the ground, Oliver Queen was a little unresponsive. Then he heard gunshots ring out again, and it calmed down after a moment. It seems that I came at the right time, a voice chuckled, and then he appeared in front of everyone. It's you. Seeing Su-Jean, Oliver Queen was surprised but relieved. Green arrow, Oliver Queen, friendliness increased by 30%. A system prompt sounded. Su-Jean was not surprised. Since he was planning to forcibly increase the friendship level, it would definitely increase. It's just, he didn't expect it to increase so much, 30%. The mission only requires 50%. There was 10% before, but now the total friendship level is 40%. It is only one step away from completing the mission. However, the increase of 5% and 5% before was actually a full 30% this time. Is it because of Laurel? If it were just to save Oliver Queen, it might not be much at all, not to mention that if Laurel wasn't around, maybe he wouldn't need to save himself. Chapter 73. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Is he the Green Lantern who saved you? Laurel looked at Su-Jean and said in surprise. Oliver Queen nodded and was about to speak. Su-Jean said, let's talk about it later. I'll go after the white-haired witch first. Only then did Oliver Queen realize that the white-haired witch had run away at some point. Su-Jean went after the white-haired witch, while Oliver Queen stayed to comfort Laurel. At this time, there were footsteps again, and Oliver Queen looked warily, only to realize that it was his black bodyguard. If something like this happened, the police would definitely be called. Not long after, Laurel's father, Officer Lance, came with the police. They made sure that Laurel was fine, asked about the situation, and learned that it was Green Lantern who saved them. They couldn't help but somewhat curious. He has also investigated this Green Lantern. He was the one who saved Oliver Queen when he was kidnapped. It is said that this Green Lantern first appeared in Beach City, but there has been no news since then, and now he suddenly appears in Star City. And he saved Oliver Queen twice. Why? He asked Oliver Queen in a bad tone, and Oliver Queen naturally denied that he didn't know. In the end, Lance had no choice but to warn him to stay away from his daughter. Let's not talk about the trivial matters that Oliver Queen dealt with after the incident, but let's talk about Su Zhan going after Mtlnovel. Mtlnovel's reaction was indeed very fast. She was worthy of being a killer of the triads. She ran away as soon as she saw the situation was not going well. While running, he also skillfully used anti-tracking methods to try not to be discovered. Half an hour later, Mtlnovel had arrived at the port, and there was a boat ready for her to leave. In 3 steps and 2 steps, Mtlnovel jumped on the boat. After she got on, the boat quickly sailed out of the port. Mtlnovel entered the cabin and then breathed a long sigh of relief. Maybe Oliver Queen and Laurel didn't notice how Su Zhan did it, but Mtlnovel could see it clearly. It was a very mysterious and special energy. After being a killer for so long, she also knew that there were many things in this world. People with special abilities, but I have never seen anything like this, so her first reaction was to run. It seems that I was right, at least, he didn't chase. Mtlnovel seemed to see someone next to her from the corner of her eyes. She quickly turned her head and was stunned for a moment. The dark uniform and the smiling mouth. Mtlnovel stood up instantly, held up her short blades with both hands, and stared at Su Zhan. When did he catch up? I thought I had gotten rid of him. Who are you? If you go against the triads, you should know what will happen. I advise you to mind your own business. Mtlnovel stared at Su Zhan warily and said in a deep voice. Are you scared? Su Zhan said with a smile. Usually you only use old-fashioned threats like this when you are scared. If you are not scared, you should just rush up and do it. Afraid? I've never been afraid. Mtlnovel said coldly. Really? That's the best. Su Zhan smiled. Although Mtlnovel spoke firmly, she felt very unsure, especially when she heard the noise outside. The ship seemed to have stopped. It was obvious that the ship was probably controlled by the person in front of her. Either fight or jump into the sea and run away. There seemed to be no other choice. However, the success rate of these two options is probably very low. After a moment of silence, Mtlnovel gritted her teeth and decided to fight. Drink! With a soft drink, Mtlnovel waved her double blades and rushed toward Su Zhan. 1 step, 2 steps, in the blink of an eye, Mtlnovel was in front of her, but Su Zhan still didn't react. This made Mtlnovel feel happy, and the short blade had already stabbed towards his vital part. Heart. The short blade stopped abruptly just an inch away from her heart. Mtlnovel found that she couldn't move. She tried all her strength, but she couldn't move the short blade forward. Chapter 0092, Dance and Let You Go. Mtlnovel looked at Su Zhan with a pale face, and struggled to shout, What did you do to me? I didn't do anything, I just wanted to tell you how big the gap is between you and me, so that you can give up your plan to fight to the death. Su Zhan smiled softly and slowly raised his hand to look at Mtlnovel's shorts. Blade. His finger scratched the short blade, and a wound instantly appeared. Oh, it's quite sharp, but it's useless. Su Zhan smiled and raised his finger and pointed it at Mtlnovel. Mtlnovel could see clearly that the wound healed quickly. In almost 2 or 3 seconds, the wound disappeared without a trace. Is this still a human being? Mtlnovel was desperate. She had a special ability that could change. She could also immobilize herself, and she had such a strong healing and recovery ability. She was not on the same level as him at all, and there was no chance of winning at all. What do you want to do? If you want to kill, just give me a good death. Mtlnovel shouted in a deep voice. Su Zhan smiled and shook his head. Don't worry, it's a long night, we have a lot of time, don't we? Actually, I don't have to kill you. After all, from a certain point of view, you have helped me. Without you, my affairs may not be completed so smoothly, so. Are you willing to let me go? Mtlnovel suddenly felt hopeful. So, at least I won't kill you, at least not this time. Su Zhan paused and said. As for letting you go, it's not impossible, but, even though it's not very difficult to catch you, I can't let my trip go in vain, right? What on earth do you want? Mtlnovel could feel that he had no murderous intention towards her, but she didn't know what he wanted and how to let her go. Didn't I just say it? It's a long night and it wouldn't be boring if there was nothing to do. You have a very good figure. How about dancing? Su Zhan slowly walked to the wine cabinet aside and took out the wine. I poured myself a glass, then walked to the sofa and sat down, crossing my legs, and withdrew my thoughts. Mtlnovel regained her freedom and turned around quickly. Dance? That she looked at Su Zhan in confusion. This request was a bit too unbelievable. Yes, dancing, of course, I'm talking about the kind of dance that gets cooler the more you dance. Su Zhan said. Mtlnovel realized in an instant that he actually wanted to do a take off his clothes dance. You, don't go too far, kill me if you can. Mtlnovel said angrily. Su Zhan shook his head. I said I won't kill you this time. But I have many ways to make you surrender. Believe me, it's definitely harder to accept than dancing. Are you considered a hero? Mtlnovel said. Chapter 74. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Su Zhan spread his hands. Heroes are human beings too, and they also have pursuits and hobbies, okay? What's more, I didn't kill you, and I didn't capture you and imprison you. It's pretty good, right? After all, you were almost there just now. How can I do it without making you pay some price for hurting my friend? Mtlnovel didn't know what method Su Zhan would use to deal with her and make her surrender, but she didn't want to die. After hesitating for a long time, Mtlnovel gritted her teeth and started to swing stiffly. Su Zhan smiled softly and glanced at her approvingly. Perhaps she had already jumped on it. Mtlnovel gradually let go, her movements became wider, and her clothes gradually faded away. Su Zhan looked at it very seriously, and his eyes were not obscene, as if he was really appreciating the dance. This look made Mtlnovel feel relieved, and the embarrassment in her heart became much less. She felt a sense of satisfaction, and this sense of satisfaction is due to Su Zhan's appreciation and seriousness. Mtlnovel felt that she was crazy. She was still satisfied with such a humiliating thing, and she even danced more seriously without knowing it. She had no idea that her originally cold expression was now a little more feminine. She was naked and had been dancing for who knows how long. Mtlnovel was showing off her waist skills with her back to him, but she suddenly felt a sudden wind blowing around her, making her shiver slightly. She subconsciously turned around, but Su Zhan has disappeared. Mtlnovel stared blankly for a long time and didn't seem to react. He just left like this. Did you really just let yourself go after watching yourself dance for a while? Mtlnovel really couldn't believe it. Inexplicably, she actually had an idea. Is it because I have no charm, so I can't attract Su Zhan? After watching this dance, I don't even have any ideas for the next step. Anyway, he's gone. Mtlnovel breathed a sigh of relief, suppressed the feeling of worrying about gains and losses, and prepared to leave Star City. Isn't Mtlnovel attractive? Of course not. Doesn't Su Zhan have any ideas? Neither. Being able to convince such a ruthless female killer is a great sense of accomplishment for Su Zhan or any man. It's just that he has other things to do. Mtlonovel's move this time was quite big. Summers must have known that she had missed the target, and he also knew that Green Arrow would definitely come to find him, so he would definitely run away. This is an opportunity to kill 3 birds with 1 stone. First of all, the main mission is to protect Star City with Green Arrow. Defeating Summers, a gangster, naturally also protects Star City. Secondly, side mission 1, working with Green Arrow, can also be completed by the way. Moreover, there are 3 irons in men. We carried guns together, we passed out of windows together, we did whatever. This is the easiest way to increase friendship. Working together can definitely increase friendship, but I don't know how much. There are still 3 days left. If everything goes well, you can complete the task directly and relax, and the rest of the time. Su Zhan went directly to the secret base and waited for a while. Oliver Queen was already here. Seeing Su Zhan, Oliver Queen was stunned for a moment, and then thanks, brother. Su Zhan shook his head, it's just a little effort. By the way, I let the white-haired witch go. Of course. I also made her pay a price. What price? Oliver Queen was a little surprised. Well, it's not important. Anyway, she will definitely die in a way that she will never forget. She is just a killer, not the mastermind. The real person to be solved is Summers. How about it? Together? Su Zhan didn't have the nerve to say it. He asked her to do a special dance and changed the topic directly. The effect is great, and Oliver Queen immediately turns his attention to Summers. He came here just to deal with Summers. Good. Although he felt that he was enough to deal with Summers, he readily agreed to Su Zhan's invitation. Chapter 0093 Join forces to cooperate. Oliver Queen is all dressed up, including his green arrow uniform, bow and arrows, and his eyes are painted with green paint, which makes him look a little bit interesting. After thinking about it, Su Zhan also transformed into a bow and arrow and made some gestures. It felt good. Can you teach me bow and arrow when you have time? Su Zhan turned to Oliver Queen and said. Oliver Queen asked in confusion, you have so many abilities and are so powerful, but you still need a bow and arrow? Well, I think it's quite good to use for coolness. Oliver Queen was instantly confused and felt like he didn't want to talk to him. In Su Zhan's opinion, his proud ability was just for being cool. He really wanted to kill him with one arrow, if he could. Let's go. Su Zhan was just joking. The energy enveloped Oliver Queen, and the two of them flew out. Port terminal. Summers was packing his things and preparing to run away. He hurriedly loaded up his things and asked the men next to him, is the ship ready? The subordinate took out the walkie-talkie and contacted, is the Wallace ship ready? Wallace? There was a busy tone on the intercom, but no one answered. The men felt something was wrong, so they shouted a few more words tentatively, and Summers' movements also slowed down. Wallace isn't here, but I am. Suddenly, a strange man's voice came from the intercom. Summers instantly heard it. Green Arrow. We're leaving now, right away. After saying that, Summers picked up his things and turned around to leave. His panicked look puzzled his subordinates, who followed him and said, Boss, there are at least 10 of us outside. Chapter 75. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Not enough, far from enough. Summers said solemnly. Boom, the bow and arrow flew out, and a man fell to the ground. Oliver Queen quickly took out his bow and arrows, cocked it, drew the bow, and lay down alone again. Boom, the sound of gunshots suddenly rang out, and Oliver Queen turned his head and found that a huge shield appeared behind him, blocking it. Not far away, a man was holding a gun, looking at all this in surprise. Thanks, Oliver Queen shouted. Su Zhan next to him smiled, and the shield hit the man directly, knocking him to the ground and flying out. There are a lot of people here, the surroundings are relatively messy, and it's dark, so it's very suitable for concealed shooting. They were all ordinary people, not counting soldiers and generals. Su Zhan was too lazy to take action. He only occasionally helped Oliver Queen block bullets. It didn't take long before they were all solved. Oliver Queen saw Summers escaping and hurriedly chased after him. However, Summers ran very fast and was familiar with the terrain. Oliver Queen's attempts failed several times and he actually let him run away. Damn it! Oliver Queen was extremely annoyed and continued to chase unwillingly. Su Zhan suddenly flew by. Leave it to me. You should retreat first. The police are coming. Oliver Queen was a little reluctant, but he had already heard the sound of police cars in the distance. Leave it to you. In desperation, Oliver Queen had no choice but to withdraw. He believed that Su Zhan would not miss. Summers ran wildly and looked back, worried that Green Arrow would catch up. He would be able to get on the boat right away. As long as he got on the boat, he would be safe. Thinking of this, Summers breathed a sigh of relief, turned around and continued running. As a result, when he turned around, he suddenly found a person standing in front of him, waiting for him with his hands on his shoulders. Summers was startled and hurriedly tried to change direction, but a ball of dark green rope suddenly entangled him and instantly hung him up. "You!" Summers was about to speak. Su-Jean had already floated in front of him and raised his hand. Pop! Pap! Pap! Su-Jean slapped him with several slaps in succession. How could Summers withstand Su-Jean's strength? After a few slaps, stars appeared in his eyes and his face was as swollen as a pig's head. "Look up and look at me." Su-Jean took out the phone and dialed up the recording settings. His voice was cold. Even though Summers was dizzy from being beaten, he suddenly woke up after hearing these words and subconsciously raised his head to look at Su-Jean. He saw the dark eyeballs, and immediately felt a trance, as if he had lost his soul. After a while, Su-Jean put away the phone with satisfaction, and then suddenly regained his energy. Summers instantly fell out of the air and fainted. "Do not move!" Suddenly, there was a shout from behind. Su-Jean turned around and saw the policeman with a gun, Laurel's father, Officer Lance. "Are you the green light? I'm very grateful to you for saving my daughter, but now, you'd better go to the police station with me." Officer Lance said solemnly. Su-Jean shrugged. "I'm afraid not. Although I have no intention of hiding my identity, I don't want to waste time. I'll help you catch him, so I'll leave first." After saying that, Su-Jean slowly floated up and was ready to leave. Officer Lance was startled when he saw Su-Jean flying up. When he saw that he was about to run, he felt a little panicked and subconsciously shot him. Bang, bang, the bullet hit Su-Jean's face and was blocked by the energy of the lamp ring. Su-Jean didn't expect that he would actually shoot. After all, he was his daughter's savior and helped him catch Summers, right? Although he looked frightened, it still felt unpleasant. Snort. Su-Jean stared at him and snorted coldly, then disappeared. At that moment, Officer Lance felt that his back was soaked. "How's it going?" After leaving the dock, Su-Jean quickly found Oliver Queen, who asked hurriedly. "He was caught and handed over to the police." "That's good." Oliver Queen breathed a sigh of relief, and then said worriedly, "It's just that even if we catch him, I'm afraid there won't be any evidence." "Don't worry, I'll take care of things. Just wait for the good news later." Su-Jean said with a smile. Oliver Queen was completely relieved when he heard that Su-Jean was prepared. Su-Jean was also prompted by the system again, and his friendliness increased by 5%. Su-Jean was a little disappointed. There was a little bit. "It seems that in the remaining few days, I still have to work hard." After separating from Oliver Queen, Su-Jean returned to the hotel to find Phyllis and briefly told her what happened, but Phyllis listened very seriously. Clearly, she loves her boyfriend's heroics. "My dear, I want to tell you something, but don't get angry after hearing this." Phyllis held Su-Jean's arm and begged coquettishly. "What's the matter? Let's talk about it first. I may not be able to accompany you. There are urgent matters at the company, and I have to go back to deal with them." Phyllis said apologetically. Su-Jean was speechless. "That's it? What did I think it was? Since it's an emergency, let's go back. Anyway, I have to leave in a few days, and I won't be back for at least half a month. How about this? I'll take you back. It's better than you should fly quickly to save time. Actually, there's something else we can do before we leave." Phyllis said in a low voice. Su-Jean chuckled. "Are you sure? If we really do something, I'm afraid you won't be able to leave tonight." Chapter 0094 Gossip and Accidents. The morning sun enveloped the earth, and the breeze blew the curtains. Su-Jean and Felice woke up from their sweet dreams. Looking at the lazy Felice, Su-Jean said with a chuckle, "I'm right, right? If you want to do this, click something and you won't be able to leave. It's not too powerful. I've already told you that I can't do it anymore, but you still refuse to let me go." Felice said coquettishly. Su-Jean chuckled. "I can't help it. Who told you that my man is too powerful? Be good, get up and clean up, and then I will take you back. I don't have the strength, you pick me up." Phyllis stretched out her hands and said coquettishly, "Happy to oblige." Su-Jean chuckled and hugged her directly. Chapter 76. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. After washing up, it was almost 8 o'clock, and there was no time for breakfast. Su-Jean sent Phyllis directly back to Beach City, and came back after reluctantly leaving. He still has things to do, we still need 5% of the friendship level to complete the task, and the Summers matter is not completely resolved. Back in Star City, Su-Jean went to Laurel's law firm. You can feel the busy atmosphere as soon as you enter. Everyone is busy with their own things with their heads down. After taking a few steps, Su-Jean has already seen Laurel frowning at the desk. At this time, Laurel looked up and saw Su-Jean. Su-Jean smiled at him. She was stunned for a moment and quickly recognized him. "It's you." Laurel stood up in a hurry and said happily, "Why are you here?" "I came to see you for something. Do you have time? Let's go out and chat." "Good." Laurel simply turned around, picked up her bag, and went out with Su-Jean. Nearby restaurant, Laurel kept thanking Su-Jean. "I really don't know what to say. You not only saved me and Oliver, but also captured Summers. It's just..." Speaking of Summers, Laurel was a little depressed. "Evidence, no evidence. Actually, I know a little about you and Oliver. I'm really curious. Is he your ex-boyfriend? He also killed your sister. Why do I feel like you don't hate him very much?" Su-Jean asked casually. Laurel was silent for a moment and said, "Hate, why don't I hate? In fact, although he is my ex-boyfriend, but, we were not together for a long time, and nothing happened. Maybe, his purpose from the beginning was probably to get in touch with my sister through me. If I had known what would happen, even if it was just for a short time, or even a nominal boyfriend and girlfriend, I would never have agreed." This is unexpected news. From the tone of her voice, it seems like her relationship with Oliver isn't very good, right? "I didn't forgive him, but when I saw him, I thought of my sister, you know. It's like a kind of sustenance." Laurel looked at Su-Jean and said. Su-Jean nodded and asked with a bit of gossip, "What about Tommy?" "Tommy? What does it have to do with Tommy?" Laurel looked at Su-Jean blankly. "No. Doesn't it matter?" Su-Jean felt a little confused. This reaction was wrong. Could it be that he had remembered the plot wrong? Or, is this world different from what I remember? You weren't with Tommy? How is it possible?" Laurel said excitedly, "How could I be with Tommy? I knew Tommy when I met Oliver. We just knew each other and took care of each other. After all, during those days, he lost his best friend, and I lost my sister." Well, maybe I was wrong. Seeing how confident Laurel looked, Su-Jean was 100% sure that some things in this world were different from what he remembered. What is this? Butterfly effect, or what? But think about it, many things in the main Marvel world don't match his memory. Well, I have something here that you might need. Su-Jean took out his phone and played a recording. After hearing the contents of the recording, Laurel immediately said excitedly, "Great, with this evidence, Summers will spend his whole life in a cell." "Do you want it?" Su-Jean asked with a smile. "Of course, you will give it to me, right? You are a hero who punishes rape and eliminates evil, aren't you? As expected of a lawyer." Su-Jean smiled and said, "As long as you answer me a question to satisfy my curiosity, I will give you this recording." "What is the problem? Are you still a virgin?" Su-Jean asked directly. Laurel was stunned. "Why do you ask? You just have to answer me, yes, or no." Laurel's eyes averted and she didn't speak, but she nodded slightly. "That's it, give me the phone number and I'll pass it on to you." Su-Jean smiled with satisfaction. Laurel hurriedly took out the phone, and Su-Jean sent the recording and saved the number at the same time. Laurel saw Su-Jean save his number, but did not stop or refuse. "Okay, I've given you the things, and this matter is finally over. I should stay in Star City for a few more days, and then I'll leave." "Back to Beach City?" Laurel asked. Su-Jean smiled, "It seems you know me very well. Green Lantern, your news has spread widely. There is also a green arrow who seems to be local to Star City. Do you know who it is? I know, but I can't tell you. Then, can you tell me what your name is? Laurel was a little disappointed, but she didn't care much about Green Arrow. Sue-Jean. Sue-Jean, I remember. Laurel murmured. Okay, it's almost time, so I won't bother you, a barrister, to plead for the people. Sue-Jean stood up with a smile, looked at Laurel and said, Your father shot me twice yesterday, so I'm going to take revenge on him, use you to take revenge on him. Ah, that Laurel shouted unexpectedly. She didn't expect her father to shoot Sue-Jean, nor did she expect that Sue-Jean would suddenly say something about revenge. After all, he didn't look like he wanted revenge at all. If you can promise to stay single and stay away from Oliver Queen or Tommy, I will tell you the secret about your sister. What do you know? Laurel said excitedly. Want to know? I'll see how you behave when we meet next time and I'll consider whether to tell you or not. Sue-Jean smiled and put the money on the table, then turned around and prepared to leave. Why? Laurel asked inexplicably. Just think of this as my revenge. Sue-Jean laughed, turned and left. Chapter 78. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Little Pepper was very surprised and subconsciously tried it. Soon a booster appeared under her feet and she flew up instantly. Oh my God, this is so amazing, it's like it's real. Pepper said in surprise. Sue-Jean smiled, controlled the energy with his mind, and flew away with Little Pepper. In New York City, at the intersection of Fifth Avenue and Broadway in Manhattan, there is a very unique building that looks like an flat iron building. This is damage control. After Sue-Jean and Xiao Laojiao landed, they walked in under the surprised eyes of people nearby. After entering the building, Pepper went to negotiate with the front desk, while Sue-Jean started fighting out of curiosity. It seemed that the company was very large. Not long after, Pepper took Sue-Jean to the elevator and to the top floor, where he met the company's operations director, and Marie, a middle-aged woman who looked very capable. On the way, Sue-Jean told Xiao Laojiao that she would mainly handle business matters. She was more experienced and capable than him anyway. The reason why Sue-Jean followed him was mainly to see if this person or company was reliable. Reliable. While Pepper was discussing business, Sue-Jean had been staring at Marie. It could be seen that she was a very smart and capable woman. This kind of special company really can't be run if it doesn't have some skills. Ms. N. Seeing that they were almost done talking, Sue-Jean suddenly shouted, and Marie turned her head and looked over, only to be mentally controlled by Sue-Jean in an instant. Sue-Jean asked a few questions. They were nothing more than drawings after construction, some defense plans, circuit diagrams and so on. Will they be sold to others? Will there be any backdoors? After all, if someone wants to deal with it in the future, what should I do about this base? But the answer was very satisfying to Sue-Jean. Obviously there was a reason why their company had been able to operate for so long, especially for such a large-scale construction project. If it didn't have a good reputation and no one trusted it, where would the business be? These drawings will be destroyed after construction is completed, and their employees will carefully review them and will not betray customers. Although it is not foolproof, there is nothing you can do about it, and this base will not take too long. When you completely swallow the ether particles, you can modify reality and build your own base. After removing the mental control, Sue-Jean simply modified her memory to prevent her from knowing that he had controlled her. Then a contract was signed, guaranteeing that the construction would be completed within a month, and people would be dispatched to build it immediately. Afterwards, Sue-Jean and Pepper left the Flatiron Building. Well, the name of this building is really weird, Sue-Jean complained in his mind, then looked at Xiao Chili and said, it's a rare time to come out. What can you do, or do you want to buy something? That little hot sauce smiled. I wanted to buy a few sets of clothes. I was in a hurry when I came here and didn't have many changes of clothes. No problem. Sue-Jean said with a smile, and then went shopping with Xiaojiao. Even though Little Pepper usually dresses very seriously and dignified, that's because she has to dress like that because she often goes out to deal with business. In private, Little Pepper's dressing style is still very feminine. After shopping for a while, Su-Jean already had several more bags in his hands. When going shopping with a woman, how could she be allowed to carry her own things? Moreover, these things were all paid for by Su-Jean, so he called it a reward to thank Xiaojiao for her hard work during this time. Although Su-Jean is not as rich as Tony Stark yet, that is only temporary. What's more, if he wanted to, he could have more money than the whole world combined. After all, he had countless planes to explore. There's a coffee shop over there, let's go have a rest. Su-Jean pointed to the coffee shop next to him and said to Little Pepper. Little Pepper said apologetically, "It's been a long time since I've been shopping freely like this. I accidentally lost control." "You must be bored, right?" "No, I'm just worried that you will be tired. After all, you are wearing high heels and your legs are still so thin." Su-Jean said with a smile, and then the two of them went to the coffee shop. The things were put aside, and the waiter had just brought the coffee. Su-Jean was about to speak when he suddenly heard a commotion outside. Little Pepper was startled. Su-Jean turned around and saw that the crowd outside was scattered in panic. The car was swaying on the road. A man was supported in the air by steel claws. He was waving the steel claws like octopus claws and pinned the man down. Out of the wall. Dr. Octopus. Su-Jean muttered and looked at the guy who was pressed against the wall. Unsurprisingly, it was Spider-Man Parker. They were also old rivals. I didn't expect that they would be fighting here by such a coincidence. Woke up, however. Su-Jean noticed that besides them, above Spider-Man, there was a man in black with his limbs stretched out on the wall. "Oh, isn't this Venom?" Su-Jean couldn't help but laugh. This was really lively. Chapter 0097 Venom was scared away that Su-Jean didn't expect to encounter such a situation even when he went shopping with Pepper and had a coffee. He watched Spider-Man being grabbed by Dr. Octopus's mechanical tentacles and smashing him against the wall, watching the wall gradually crack. Su-Jean grinned subconsciously. "It hurts so much." "Hey, that's all. I thought you would have something new." Spider-Man shouted towards Dr. Octopus, and suddenly stretched out his hand and quickly sent out spider silk. Chirp. The spider silk instantly hit Dr. Octopus's face. Dr. Octopus stretched out his hand to pull it, and was momentarily distracted from controlling the mechanical tentacles. Spider-Man took advantage of this moment to break free, sent out spider silk at the wall behind Dr. Octopus, raised his feet, swung up, and kicked him hard. Aw. Chirp. Spider-Man's ankle was suddenly entangled, and a huge force came from behind, directly pulling Spider-Man back from the air, and smashed him directly against the wall with a bang. A pit instantly appeared in the wall. Spider-Man was knocked dizzy, but Venom's somewhat terrifying face revealed a ferocious smile. He flicked his thick arm hard, and the poor little spider was thrown out uncontrollably. This time, it was in the direction of the coffee shop. "Ah, run!" Seeing Spider-Man flying over, Pepper hurriedly shouted. "It's okay, I'm here." Su-Jean smiled at Xiaojiao, slowly picked up the coffee and took a sip. Boom. The glass window of the coffee shop was directly smashed by Spider-Man, and it was about to hit this side. A huge barrier suddenly appeared near the table, which knocked Spider-Man back. Dr. Octopus just happened to tear off the spider silk. Before he could see what was going on, he saw Spider-Man flying over. Without thinking, the mechanical tentacles directly hit him. He hit a target accurately. The poor little spider was instantly hit and fell to the ground on the road. Ah! The whole process changed very quickly. By the time Pepper Potts reacted, Dr. Octopus was using his power to torture Spider-Man. "Oh my God, go save him!" Little Pepper hurriedly shouted to Su-Jean. Su-Jean slowly put down the coffee cup, glanced at Spider-Man and was about to speak, when he suddenly saw a mechanical tentacle reaching out. "Save him. Just you." Dr. Octopus lifted Spider-Man up with his other tentacles. He looked at Spider-Man's arms drooping, his hands swinging, and his head drooping. He was obviously fainted. "You're so irresistible." Su Zhan curled his lips and didn't even look at the arrogant Dr. Octopus. Instead, he glanced at Venom, who had been lying on the wall with interest. "I don't know if I can swallow this venom if I get it. You're watching here. This coffee tastes really good, so you'd better drink it quickly." Su Zhan said to Xiao Chili with a smile, slowly stood up and walked out. "Huh, what are you doing here? Do you want to save Spider-Man? What about you? I can crush you to death with just one tentacle." The mechanical tentacle stretched out and dangled in front of Su Zhan. Chapter 79. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Su Zhan frowned slightly and said calmly, "Actually, I have no objection at all to you teaching Spider-Man a lesson. This guy really needs a lesson. But who told you to choose a bad place? You just interrupted our coffee, that guy. Since all the beautiful ladies have spoken, I can only do it reluctantly. So, who of you comes first? How about, the one on the wall comes first?" Su Zhan turned to look at Venom. "Ha ha ha. I think you are either crazy or impatient. You actually want him to come first? Do you know who he is? That is Venom, a Venom stronger than Spider-Man." Dr. Octopus saw Su Zhan was so overwhelmed that he actually wanted to provoke Venom and couldn't help laughing and taunting him. "He can kill you with just one finger." "Really?" Su Zhan turned around without comment, his eyes burning, full of fighting spirit. At that moment, Venom felt like he was trapped in an ice cave, dangerous, very dangerous. Venom climbed on the wall and remained motionless, as if he hadn't heard anything. Dr. Octopus was a little confused. He knew Venom's character very well, and he was definitely not someone who could swallow his anger. Finally, he saw Venom move. "That's right, kid, you'd better run, maybe you can live a few more seconds." Dr. Octopus stopped abruptly before he finished speaking, as if someone had grabbed his throat. He looked at Venom running away in disbelief, unable to believe his eyes. "It's moving, Venom is indeed moving, but TM didn't go to kill the ignorant boy in front of him at all, but ran away." Run. Why did he run away?" Dr. Octopus muttered. "Maybe you were scared away by me." Su Zhan was a little disappointed when he saw Venom running away like that. It seems that his fighting intention was too obvious just now. He felt threatened and ran away without fighting. Scared away? You said Venom was scared away? Are you kidding? Who do you think you are to scare Venom away? Forget it, that guy is a psychopath. Since he ran away, let me end your life." Dr. Octopus simply didn't believe that Venom would be scared away, thinking that he might be mentally disturbed or temporarily in trouble. Anyway, Spider-Man is on his last legs. Isn't it just a matter of minutes to deal with this overestimating kid in front of him? Thinking of this, the mechanical tentacles suddenly hit him. Bang! The huge mechanical tentacles smashed down and made a thick sound. The ground cracked and cracked, dust flew up, and smoke enveloped the area. "Ha ha, boy, you are just an appetizer. I will kill you first, and then I will kill Spider-Man. You can still be a companion." The power of the mechanical tentacles can lift 8 tons of things, and it can exert its full power when attacking. At least 10 tons of power. The blow just now probably smashed that boy into a pulp. Dr. Octopus lifted Spider-Man in front of him, and the 4 mechanical tentacles grabbed Spider-Man's 4 sides, making him look like a big font. He actually wanted to tear Spider-Man apart. The power of the mechanical tentacles gradually increased, and Spider-Man let out a painful groan. "I said, can you be more professional when you kill people? Don't start in an anticlimactic manner." That just when Dr. Octopus was expecting Spider-Man to be torn apart, he suddenly heard a voice. He turned his head and looked at Su Zhan, who appeared after the smoke blew away. His eyes widened instantly and he subconsciously threw Spider-Man to the ground. How is this possible? You can't be alive, it can't be, you, who are you? Chapter 0098 Killing Dr. Octopus. The smoke dissipated, and the ether uniform was already worn on Su Zhan. He looked coldly at the frightened Dr. Octopus and twisted his neck. Who am I? If you are still alive later, you will naturally know who I am. As soon as he finished speaking, Su Zhan moved instantly and ran towards Dr. Octopus. Although Dr. Octopus was shocked, his reaction was not slow. Two mechanical tentacles quickly hit Su Zhan. Looking at the mechanical tentacles, Su Zhan didn't dodge at all. He suddenly reached out and grabbed the two mechanical arms. Fire! With a low roar, Su Zhan's hands instantly turned into two pillars of fire. The intense heat burned the mechanical tentacles. Dr. Octopus was frightened and hurriedly tried to pull them back, but the mechanical tentacles did not move at all and were pulled tightly by Su Zhan. Sizzling, sizzling, the mechanical tentacles began to melt. Dr. Octopus quickly controlled the two mechanical tentacles supporting his body and hit Su Zhan. Having many tentacles is his advantage. Snort! Su Zhan sneered contemptuously, and two identical mechanical tentacles suddenly appeared in front of him and crashed into him. Boom! The huge force caused Dr. Octopus's mechanical shot to rebound instantly, and the force of the shock caused him to fall directly to the ground. Wind! Although Dr. Octopus fell, the two mechanical tentacles held by Su Zhan did not let go, and the flames had spread throughout the tentacles. As Su Zhan roared again, his arms shook rapidly, followed by a strong wind. With the strong wind, the flames instantly intensified and became even hotter. Almost in the blink of an eye, the two mechanical tentacles directly transformed. For ashes. Run, must run! Dr. Octopus no longer bothered to guess Su Zhan's identity. Now he suddenly understood why Venom escaped. You must have known how powerful this person was, so he ran away first. The remaining two mechanical tentacles suddenly emitted light waves, which Su Zhan transformed into a wall and blocked easily. The light wave dissipated, the shield was removed, and Dr. Octopus had already controlled the two remaining mechanical arms to escape. Although there are only two left, the speed is not slow at all. Chase, don't let Dr. Octopus escape. Brother, come on, don't let him run away. Brother, you're awesome. What's your name? Your abilities are so cool. Suddenly there was a shout of applause in his ears, and Su Zhan raised the corners of his mouth slightly. Run. Did he run away? As the words fell, Dr. Octopus screamed in agony as he was escaping in front of him. Then everyone discovered that a dark green cage appeared next to Dr. Octopus. No. It wasn't a cage, it should be a large vault. Come back! Su Zhan raised his hand and pulled back, and the huge vault flew back instantly, and then fell heavily to the ground with a thud. Su Zhan slowly raised his hands, and two swords similar to Tang's swords appeared. Bang, bang, bang. The door to the vault slowly opened, and the mechanical tentacles suddenly sprang out and headed straight for Su Zhan. Be careful. The incident happened suddenly, and someone nearby exclaimed. Su Zhan sneered, and suddenly slashed open with his two swords. Click. The mechanical tentacle was cut off directly. Su Zhan raised his knife and lowered it, just like chopping vegetables, cutting off the mechanical tentacle piece by piece. Then the energy in the vault disappeared, and a dazzling light wave suddenly blasted over, and the Tang knife in his left hand transformed. Using him as a shield to block the light wave, Su Zhan moved forward against the light wave step by step. Go to hell, go to hell, go to hell. Dr. Octopus was already a little hysterical. He kept increasing the energy of the light waves, but he was unable to stop Su Zhan from moving forward. Chapter 80. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Su Zhan swung the knife with his right hand, and the mechanical tentacles were cut off immediately. The light wave changed direction instantly, blasting a big crater into the ground, and then lost its energy. Remember, in the next life, don't deal with these superheroes in front of me. Su Zhan said coldly and waved his swords from both sides. The moment when the two swords crossed each other, a head suddenly flew up, and then fell to the ground with a gurgling sound. Silence, overwhelming silence. It was as if the world was frozen, and the previous noisy cheers disappeared. The two swords disappeared. Su Zhan lowered his head and looked at his clothes. The ether suit was just fine, not a drop of blood on it. Have you finished drinking? Let's go after drinking. Turning around and walking back to the cafe, Su Zhan asked Xiao Chili. Little Pepper didn't drink coffee at all, so she nodded subconsciously when she heard Su Zhan's question. Su Zhan put his arms around Xiao Jiao and flew away, only Dr. Octopus's abandoned mechanical arm, the separated corpse, and of course, Spider-Man, who had not yet woken up not far away, were left. After a long, long time, someone spoke softly. "It's so scary. Did you see it? He looked so scary just now." With a wave of his two swords, Dr. Octopus's head flew away with just a whoosh. "What are you afraid of? This is Chinese Kung Fu and it's cool." That's right, he killed Dr. Octopus, a super criminal, not to mention he also saved Spider-Man. If it weren't for him, Spider-Man would definitely have died. Let me tell you, he is the real superhero. For a criminal like Dr. Octopus, he should be killed completely. Soon, the people around him started talking, and the fear and shock gradually faded away. Although they still don't know who Su Zhan is, they have firmly remembered his appearance. Afraid. On the way back to the base, Su Zhan looked at Xiao Jiao, who had been silent, and asked in a low voice. Pepper nodded. "Yes, a little bit." "Why?" "You should know that he is a bad guy, not to mention that I won't hurt you." Su Zhan asked in a low voice. Little Pepper shook his head. "I know, it's not because of this, it's just. I'm just a little shocked. It's not that I've never seen dead people, it's just that the visual impact of your method is too strong, so I can't help but feel a little scared." "Now it's much better." "That's good, I don't want him to affect my impression in your heart." Su Zhan said with a chuckle. Killing Dr. Octopus is not a burden to Su Zhan. Anyway, he has no superpowers and is a bad villain, so he should just die. Not only can the public know who he is, but it can also be regarded as establishing his authority, letting them know that he is not some kind-hearted Madonna. But speaking of it, Dr. Octopus's death was quite unjust. If it hadn't happened by chance, and Pepper happened to be still with him, Su Zhan wouldn't have bothered to kill him. When they returned to the base, Pepper had returned to normal and turned to find Flicker to arrange for the workers to leave. After all, the damage control company was about to take over, but Su Zhan received a call. Chapter 0099 Subsequent Impact at S.H.I.L.D. Nick Fury. Looking at the number on the phone, Su Zhan was really annoyed. If you do something for yourself, S.H.I.E.L.D. will come to your door. If you do something, S.H.I.E.L.D. will come to your door. Damn. Are you so free? Staring at me every day. After answering the phone, Su Zhan said in a bad tone, "You'd better give me a bonus when you call me, otherwise you'd better hang up." "There's no bonus or anything, I just want to thank you for saving Spider-Man." Nick Fury was stunned by Su Zhan's tone, and then he spoke. "It's okay to say thank you verbally. What's more, who said I did it just for him? It's good that I didn't help deal with him." Su Zhan said angrily and said impatiently, "There's nothing else. Right? I have nothing else to do. Etc." Nick Fury shouted hurriedly, but unfortunately, there were already busy signals on the phone. "This guy," Nick Fury shouted angrily, no one had ever dared to hang up on him like this. He contacted Su Zhan. On the one hand, he really wanted to thank him for saving Spider-Man. On the other hand, he also wanted to remind him not to be so high-profile. It would be satisfying to kill Dr. Octopus in the street. Some people agreed, but more ordinary people. "But I'm still scared, after all, it's too bloody and shocking. What's more, due to American law, people are used to criminals being arrested and imprisoned. It is rare to kill them so cleanly and directly, especially when they are sure to win." But now it seems that he may not be able to persuade Su Zhan, because they won't give him face at all. The workers on the island have been sent away by Shuang Shuang. Of course, the wages during this period have not been reduced at all, but even a lot more. Therefore, each of these workers was very grateful. After seeing them off, the island instantly became much cleaner. Su Zhan called everyone to the conference room of the spaceship: Twinkle, Marrow, Chinharan, Little Pepper, and a dark elf who is equivalent to a driver. There are still a few people. Su Zhan sighed secretly, and then raised his voice. The damage control company will take over the project here soon. It is said that it will be completed in just 1 month, so I am going to shield this month. Flash, Little Pepper, I have to trouble you two to keep an eye on the progress of the project. As for Howren and Marrow, you two stay on the ship and use this time to improve your strength as much as possible. It won't be long, you should have a chance to show off. Yes. No one else had any objections to Su Zhan's arrangement. Little Pepper opened her mouth slightly as if she wanted to say something, but in the end she didn't speak. Of course Su Zhan saw Xiaojiao's reaction, but he pretended not to notice. Little Pepper stayed here to repay his kindness, and he made it clear that he stayed to help with the construction of the foundation. Once the construction is successful, Little Pepper will probably leave. Just now, he hinted that he was used to her presence and what to do if she left, but Little Pepper didn't respond. So Su Zhan forcibly arranged the task for her. The base hasn't been built yet anyway, not to mention that you contacted this company, so you must stay here and follow. As for after the base is built, think of other ways to keep Little Pepper. Master, we detected someone approaching here, that the dark elf suddenly whispered. Oh. Can you see who it is? Su Zhan asked, and the dark elf operated quickly. After a moment, the picture appeared on the screen. A speedboat was sailing in here quickly. When he saw the people on the speedboat clearly, Su Zhan was a little surprised. She raised the corners of her mouth slightly, finally knowing why he came suddenly. Call me boss like them from now on. Su Zhan said to the dark elf. The dark elf was ecstatic and nodded repeatedly.